What's going on, guys? Ribombee teacher in the house, and I am here with the GPL Week 1 Power Rankings. We finally got our co-host back. He fixed his shit on it. I mean, whatever. What's up, Denny?
What's up, you people? Yes, I have fixed the internet. All me. No divine intervention, just me doing all the hard work.
As always. Alright, so, as those of you who are familiar with our power rankings will know from last season, our power rankings always done with win-loss as the primary factor and differential being the tiebreaker. Of course, this being week 1, everybody's either 0-1 or 1-0, so pretty easy. Differential is the tiebreaker. Just to make it very clear, in a couple of points though, there are two little areas where two different people have the same ranking. They are literally just put in a random order, whichever is 10th and 9th and 7th and 8th. There's no real difference between those two, so just bear that in mind as we start powering our way through them. Pun intended. Alright, so let's start with number 16. I don't think this comes too much of a surprise to me, to be honest, is Exostomp and the Exostomp Excadrills. Took a really brutal loss to probably the strongest draft in our division against Solo. I really just felt like Exo had nothing. I couldn't see any opportunity for Exo to break down Solo's team. It just felt like whatever Exo wanted to do, Solo had answers for. The Snorlax trying to Gigantamax to try and live a hit, and it got blown back in one shot. It just took way too much for Exo to even kill one Pokemon, let alone 6.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Plus, the Pangoro put in a lot of work with the Thunder Punch on Mantine, and the one shot from the Rotom Heat on the Mammothswine definitely changed the game at that point. From that point, it was a backpedal that Exo just couldn't get up and over with. It was, once he was put behind, I don't think Exo's a player that's very good at playing from behind. He likes to think slow, methodical, get the edge slowly and run with it. But I think
there's just no getting an edge against Solo, who's very much a full in-your-face type of player.
Solo, just a clash of styles there, I feel.
Yeah, like Exo isn't as bad at playing from behind as people think. I feel like the biggest question, and I had this question in the post-draft power rankings as well, is how strong is his actual draft as a whole? I feel like his draft doesn't work if it falls behind. I feel like it completely falls off. His comeback tools are not that strong. Which is the big concern for me. I would like to see Exo make a couple of little changes, a bit of adjustments. He's been trying to get Jellicent off me for a little while. That's not happening, unfortunately. I need that thing. It's too important to my team. But yeah, there's definitely a few little options out there that I think he should look at, but I can't spoil too much in case somebody tries to snipe it. So, but yeah, I definitely think Exo had a tough time. He will have easier matches, although next week he plays me, so that'll be an interesting one.
Like you said, easier match.
Well, technically speaking, compared to Solo, it probably is an easier match, to be fair, but it's still not gonna be that much easier for him. I think I actually have a strong matchup against him as well, so long as I don't misplay like I did this week, but we'll talk about that when we get to me. Alright, coming in at number 15 is going to be Nitro, the unfortunate demise of Brofessor's draft. Honestly, when I looked at Nitro's matchup, I tried looking at it from both sides, and I felt like the lack of hazard removal was really punishing Nitro a lot. I think it was Spikes, Was it Spikes or Rocks? One of the two that was up that broke the Alolan Raichu's Focus Sash. There was no way for Nitro to remove it because he doesn't have removal on his team. I do want to see him pick up some hazard removal, even if he picks up a low-tier spinner. There's a couple of spinners sitting in Tier 2 right now that are not actually drafted. So I would like to see him pick a couple of those up. He does need removal desperately. His trade for Whiscash this week doesn't provide him that. Whiscash doesn't get removal at all. He is a Dragon Dance user, but it's not enough. I'm a little worried for Nitro. I do think he's got a tough match. He does play cool this week, so that will be an interesting test to see what he can handle there. But I do think Hazard Stack against Nitro right now is just the safest way to play until Hazard Removal starts coming into this team.
Yeah, no, I can agree more. I mean, he seems to have a good weakness to the knockoff as well. He seems to love that move. But yeah, he lacks a lot of. I think he lacks quite a lot of his speed on his team too. I mean,
it is a slow team. Yeah,
pretty much ran circles. I think Raichu is actually one of his fastest, but I'm not quite sure of Flapple's speed tier.
It's not fast. It needs a Dragon Dance to be fast. Raichu is his fastest Pokemon. Then after that, I think it's Center Scorch.
Don't get me wrong. I do believe Raichu is 110, right?
Raichu is 110. Yeah. I'm actually gonna look at his team.
It's decent. It's just too slow. I had a similar problem in season 1 where having a slow team means that people can run sets. They can put a Choice Scarf, just outspeed your just general Choice Scarfs.
So the drop off from Raichu at 110 goes right the way down to Malamar at 73. So like there's a big disparity there between what is fast and what isn't. Unlike a couple of other teams that have actually got blisteringly fast drafts, I can definitely think of mine, for example, where my average speed is almost base 100. Like, compare that to base 53, which is Nitro speed tiers right now, and it doesn't really have a viable Trick Room setter. I think Duosion is the only thing that has it.
Duosion is the only setter, but then looking at the Pokemon that can even just utilize from the Trick Room is kind of questionable too.
It's Malamar at best. Ferroform can be if you're running like Curse Gyro Ball, but it's very unlikely you're ever running that. And then the other thing is that's super slow is Aromatisse and Galarian Corsola that are not known for offensive presence. So it's kind of a bit of an awkward draft. I think lack of hazards and lack of speed is definitely a problem. The Whiscash does kind of fix that somewhat. The base 60 is faster than the Thievul. Well, Thievul was never really that great anyway. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of patch-up that needs to do with this team. But the biggest one is get that removal in. Because, you know, if people like Brofessor are seeing Hazard Stack being a thing, then there's a lot of people in the league that are going to see it. Because that division is, or that conference as a whole, has got a lot of experienced players in it. So Nitro's got his work cut out.
I agree.
Alright. Coming in at number 14 then is going to be Crimpix. Nice to see him not at the bottom of the table like last season, but still took a little bit of a hammering this week. Nico really did punish the mechanical misplays. I was a little bit confused about the Rotom play in the Gigantamax Gengar, why he went for Leaf Storm on it. The Discharge / Thunderbolt actually would have killed if it's the spat I thought it was. So I was a little bit surprised to see that, and then he sacked off 2 Pokemon to the Gengar that was +2 special attack for literally nothing, and then eventually realised that he should have brought the Duraludon in because it lived to hit, but by which time it was just too late.
Man, this game, right, the very start of it, right, he switches out into the Manatán, hits that Flare Blitz. I'm like, okay, that's good. I like that. You know, he gets a nice knockoff of Life Ball. I'm like, okay, Crimpix, okay. And then he got swept, and I was really
it was like, we got the few turns down now. Maybe as the weeks go on, he's going to get more and more turns correct, and then eventually he'll put a good battle together by week 8. Let's see what happens.
Like he said in the Discord, his goal is to just get 1 game this season, and then 2 games next season, and just keep building upon it. So, if you know, first two turns of that match, perfect. And then it went downhill.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't scarf his Darm either. I think it was banded, so it kind of put him in a little bit of pressure against the speed tiers. But yeah, I actually don't think Crimpix's draft is completely terrible. I do think it's got a great top end, but I'm a little concerned about the bottom half of his draft. And it kind of showed a little bit in this match. But yeah, it was an unfortunate game, but I do think Crimpix will pick up at least 1 win this season. I actually said at first I think he gets 3. I think there's a couple of people he does have a good chance of beating in this season. So we'll see what happens. But for now, this was a bit of a hard one. Nico definitely put him under a lot of pressure, and Crimpix just caved. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Alright, next up is going to be Sylvie. The Sylvie rule was definitely applied in full force here. I actually backed Sylvie to give a good game of this. I actually backed Sylvie to win. Maybe I should have been a little bit more cautious with my pick'em, but yeah, bit of a harsh one. The Mew never really got going, despite being a good Dragon Dancing set. The Togekiss had not much opportunity to put in work, so it was kind of a awkward game, but this is exactly what we've said a lot with Shadow. Give him a half an inch, he takes a million miles. You can't fall behind against him, and as we saw here, much a repeat of the last 2 seasons where this was the first match, Shadow just kind of came in clutch when it mattered.
I think I'm not sure why, but Sylveon switched out a lot. And once I noticed a trend with Sylveon in nearly all his games. Once he gets a setup, if he Dragon Dances once, if he gets a Calm Mind, or any form of setup, he just refuses to switch that Pokemon out, thinking that, hey, it's okay, I'll just kill this Pokemon. Mew, and I think there was a point as well where there was just fake out after fake out after fake out whittling down the Mew. I think Sylveon needs to play a bit more smarter in terms of just switching and trying to play for advantage rather than set up and try and win.
Yeah, you just need to slow down a bit. I don't think I remember watching this one live, but I've seen a couple of Sylve's matches live. I've just popped in the chat, and he plays very fast. It's kind of something that I think should probably be a bit better. Don't take a leaf out of mine and Tyler's book in the SPPL, where we took an hour and 35 minutes for a match, but like literally... just slow down a little bit. Just think about, like, yes, switching kind of sucks. It's like, oh, hey, I got set up. Cool, great. But then sometimes it's not optimal and you do have to switch out. Like, you can't just let it die for nothing. So I think it's just a mechanical question here. Because I don't think Sylve's draft is that bad. I think Sylve's draft is perfectly serviceable. It's just a question of piloting it effectively at this point.
Agreed, and with Mew and his top end in general, it's just so much potential. I want to see more games. I want him to do well. Please come on, Sylveon, I believe.
Yeah, please do. Alright, coming in at number 12. Oh dear.
We just skipped this one.
What a spectacular fall from grace, I think is probably the fairest way to say it. This might sound harsh, but I legitimately thought you lost this in prep. I was completely surprised to see the Alolan Persian. I didn't think that did anything to Cool's team. I was even more surprised not to see Primarina. Primarina just wrecked his team. Like, there was not a lot that he could have answered Primarina with. And even if he could try and find an answer... really? Like, you've got switch-ins. The misplay around the G-Max Pikachu was kind of the biggest killing blow. That thing did a lot more work than it should have done. But yeah, I think it was just a case of just completely underestimating what was going to happen, and you got punished for it. I would argue rightly so. I don't like underestimating, but that's just me personally. But yeah, you definitely did a good job of proving me wrong. Cool's not going 0-8 this season.
I'm sorry I ruined your pick'em.
Yeah.
No, but I honestly, I tip my hat to Cool. Like, he put in so much prep, and I put in, like, I got home one night, slapped the team together, and thought, right, I'm not going to have internet until Monday, let's just get this over with. And then my internet got fixed the next day, so that's kind of a kick in the teeth, honestly.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't help.
But you can definitely tell it was a matter of, like, his, like, days of prep, or the mock battles he did. Me just underestimating Pikachu in general, and I don't even know why. I'm embarrassed to say that Raichu is my favorite Pokemon, and then forget that it could learn Surf. Like,
yeah, that's like quintessential fact. Like, even I don't even use Pikachu, and even I know I get Surf. Like
I hate for it to sound like an excuse, but it was a long day Friday. I was kind of tired. But all in all, I don't think that was the biggest contributing factor. I think Cool just outplayed me in the end. So
yeah, you definitely got outplayed. He had a much worse team. We'll talk more about it when Cool does get through, because there were some very smart things that Cool did, which actually did turn out to be a very big difference maker. But yeah, I feel like this was a very surprising one for me, but I don't expect to see this mistake again. Like, that's something that I will say. I expect you to be shooting right back up. That means actually prep. Please.
Well, I get my free week next anyway, so it's fine.
Alright, cool. Yeah, of course. I'm looking forward to that match now. Alright, I'm looking forward to Pick'ems as well, because I think he's going to have his opportunity to talk back for that one.
At me, don't at me, Trancel.
Yeah. Alright then, let's swiftly move on before this gets a little bit interesting. Alright. Number 11 is going to be someone I expected to see down here, if I'm honest. Cap Gynagoshi with the team body press.
Fire.
Same differential, but in all honesty, I felt like this could have been a bigger loss. I think the saving grace really was that Burrger had to sack Mons off to actually push it for the end. This was a very strong game, but the clutch freeze on the Claydol definitely didn't help matters. That definitely ruined quite a lot of opportunities for the team. I wasn't sure about the Claydol Bring at first, but looking back at it again, it kind of somewhat makes sense if it had a chance to work. But the freeze dry 2-shotting definitely wasn't that great for me. But yeah.
Honestly, I think in the first half of that game, it was all team body press. Agoshi and Cap Guy. I think they kind of outplayed their opponent in the first couple of times. As soon as that freeze came into play, and then that crit with the Firefang against the Steelix, I think they just sort of like lost any form of momentum, and the opponent was able to bounce back from it.
Yeah, much like Nitro's team as well. Like, the team's relatively slow because they're obviously focusing on body press as their kind of gimmick for this season. Their team didn't have the best comeback mechanics looking at their actual team itself. So that was kind of something that definitely stuck out to me. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what they pull up next time, and if there's a better opportunity for them. The Zard actually did relatively well. That Wildfire was causing an issue, but it wasn't enough of an issue, as they kind of got a little bit greedy with the Protect. Haxorus came in and Dragon Danced. We've seen that with Solo last season. Like, that kind of play gets punished very easily. Haxorus picking up 3 kills is brutal.
I think that Protect was a panic Protect, because
definitely
Haxorus
seemed like
first impression this season, and I don't think I think week 1 for a lot of people just isn't the right week for them, as you can probably vouch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we'll be seeing those kind of mistakes again. Like, I think this team could actually go pretty far, honestly. Maybe I'm a little bit biased in terms of, you know, they are friends. So.
I mean, I'm hoping so, right? I'm hoping so, but I'm not completely confident yet. That's something that hopefully time will tell, because they have a strong team. Like, looking at their team, I see why they've drafted it. It makes so much sense to me. It's like a draft I would draft, but it's not gonna work out if these kind of mistakes happen or RNG just doesn't work in their favor. But yeah. Alright then, so coming in at number 10, this is one of those situations where 10 and 9 are actually kind of the same. This was literally just put in the order that I got to the match. So number 10 is going to be DJ. Took a very unfortunate loss to Trancel. I actually thought this was a fantastic job of damage limitation from DJ, because DJ kind of struggled to manipulate that Sun perfectly, but after he got a good opportunity with Torkoal in at the end, picks up a few kills, much needed. The Heliolisk definitely put in a lot of pressure as well. Unfortunately, the Noivern, I think, was scarfed, if I had to guess, looking at it, which outsped the Heliolisk regardless. So it was a very good situation where there were some very nice little plays for DJ. He did fall behind early, but the comeback at the end was very strong, limited to a 1-0. The Copperaja loss to the Max Flare from the G-Max Hydreigons definitely caused a lot of issues. But yeah, it's very interesting to see a Hydreigons with no fairy move. That definitely caught me a little bit unawares.
Can we just have a moment of silence for Drapion?
Oh yeah!
Blown back.
There was a Drapion there 1 second, and then it was gone a second later. It was like, jeez. It's one of those frame shots where you miss a frame and then suddenly it's disappeared.
But great prep from both sides in all fairness.
Yeah.
I definitely think Trancel could have played the Aegis Slash a bit better, but the Hatterene plays and general usage of Noivern. And hey, Beware, I wasn't quite expecting Beware to show up. They came in.
I didn't think Beware was going to go, but imagine killing a Dragapult.
That's it. That's just such a Trancel thing to do, really.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. But yeah, this was a rough one in a way, but this was a great game to watch as an outsider looking in. Like, it was a great match to watch. But yeah, I feel like this was a rough end of the stick for DJ, but the damage limitation to -1 is great, because this is easily comebackable. Which we might as well go ahead and talk about me in number 9 as well, since we're kind of in the same position. So why don't you take this one?
Okay. God, this was probably one of the best games that the season could have opened up with, honestly. Both of you played really well. Good prep from both as well. I do feel like he did out-prep you a little bit, though. Like, some of the stuff he brought with, like... Again, I know you pin it down to one mistake, but I think that Snorlax did do a lot of damage to you. The yawn, the constant pressure, the berries and stuff. I mean, I think it was the contributing factor to why you were able to lose in that match. All in all, though, you were able to pull that back to a 1. I thought he was about to 4-0 you at one point, but then you brought it down to 1. And I was sitting there going, if you get those flinches and win this match, oh my god.
Yeah, but it was still on. It was still on.
What? I feel like you might have mentioned it, right? What was that one mistake that you keep saying that really cost you the game?
So, I was in with Zeraora at the point where the Snorlax was at 48-ish% health. I can't remember the exact number. So I had a 50-50 decision to make here. Now, I didn't see an item on it. I knew he had immunity because I tried to Psycho Shift a Toxic onto it. So I knew he had immunity, which was fine. That's okay for me. I'm quite happy with that. But I hadn't seen an item. There was no leftovers. I had a 50-50 call here, really, because if he wasn't Choppleberry, then the Zeraora Close Combat kills the Snorlax, in which point I actually pretty much win the game from there. He didn't have a good Zeraora answer that. So after that, because yes, Appleton comes in, but Whimsicott pretty much walls it. The Earthquake's doing less than 20% to Whimsicott. So, like, I had a decent win con there. Unfortunately, he was Choppleberry, which did half the damage, so he did live the close combat, and then Zeraora died to the Earthquake. Since then, like, I had nothing left to win the game, because I had nothing to beat Gothitelle with. After that, that was really the deciding factor for me. Like, that one play really did lose me the game. After that, before that, it was pretty close even there. Like, yes, I sacked off 2 Mons early, which you never really want to do, especially a defensive core. But I didn't really feel like, aside from the Snorlax constantly yawning, forcing me to switch, which wasn't... It was annoying, but not super annoying. I did like the Snorlax set. But yeah, even though he was forcing me to switch out, he was kind of allowing me to switch into counters. So he was also having to switch out as well. So even though he was putting pressure on, he was also losing pressure at the same time, which is, I think, what allowed me back into the game to narrow it down to 1. When it could easily have been 3-0 his favour. Could have been 3-0 my favour as well. So it's a very back and forth game that probably ended with the most apt result that you could have done in that situation.
I'm very excited to see where both of you can end up now, honestly, because, like I said, if we're going to have a game to start off Season 2, that was the game right there.
Oh yeah, 1,000,000%. Like, that was a fun match. I'm glad we did it in call as well. It was definitely interesting. In fairness, I probably should have realised he was Chopple because he kept asking, did I have a fighting move on Cobalion every time I Volt switched on the Snorlax. But yeah, at that point, to be fair, like, we're right at the tail end of the game and I had a 50-50 shot. Could have gone either way. It didn't fall my way on this occasion. But, you know, that's Pokemon for you. I'm not mad about it. I'm not annoyed about it. I've been around for way too long to get annoyed by things like that. You know, well, I can just imagine if it was the other way around, though, what would have happened. But yeah. But either way, let's talk about Tyler actually next as he falls in. We're now into the 1-0 tops of the bracket. I actually really was happy to see Tyler go to somebody else like Brofessor and look for prep, because that's something that I think a lot of people, especially newcomers to the league, can be a little afraid to do. I've seen it a few times with a couple of other players in other leagues. They've been a little bit scared to ask for help, but I'm just like, bruh, I'm right here, man. Just ask, you know. Feel free. I did it a lot last season. I'm more than happy to always do it. Like, I'm always happy to look. But yeah, there was definitely some good changes made, because Tyler did actually kindly show me the team he had before he approached Professor. And I'm not going to lie, like, that team would have lost to me very easily. There were quite a few little items there that weren't there before that should have been. Because I don't think he originally thought about Grass Knot and Zeraora at first, because he didn't even have a Rindo Berry on the Quagsire. It was the leftovers. But obviously he put Rindo Berry on it afterwards, because it made sense. Unfortunately, it didn't quite come off, because I forced it on the Power Whip from the Goodra instead. So he didn't get the Earthquake, which wouldn't have killed Zeraora anyway, because the spread I bought always meant I lived a hit. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting situation. His prep was very strong. He's got to be able to do that consistently, though. He did make a nice free agency trade. Poor Dottler, man. Always getting dropped after week 1. But did pick up the Sneasel that Professor used to good effect, which does give him more of an outer Trick Room threat, because his actual out-of-Trick Room shenanigans are more defensive, from what I've seen, which is a little bit concerning. But hopefully he can put another good week together. I did say before, when we announced him in, that I do think Tyler's a threat, and I think this match definitely showed why. He's got decent mechanics for a very young player. So that's what I expect to see more of. It's tough competition, no. Having to play against a lot of experienced players is never easy. But he definitely held his own.
Yeah, and a lot of newcomers, more often than not, when they come into the league, they don't always find success straight off the bat. I mean, Crimpix is still looking for his success, for example, but no, Tyler came in fist flying and was able to pick up that win in his first game of the GPL, which bodes well for like just momentum going into the next couple of matches. Honestly, as well, like going to Professor is probably one of the best. Like, you know, there's a lot of good team builders, but I feel Professor, you've seen him in call, you've seen him in stream. He will sit there and he will analyze every little detail, every little snippet, and all in all, I mean, with the prep and everything, he just played really well. Like, so I go back to that Snorlax. I think that Snorlax was amazingly well prepped against your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I look forward to seeing how far Tyler can actually go. I can potentially see him. I mean, it's only been week 1, but I would put money on the fact that I'd love to see him in the playoffs.
He's got a good shot at it. I don't think there's any realistic way that he doesn't. Like, there are definitely some beatable players in both conferences, but in this one, he's not the worst by any means. Like, he's certainly not the bottom of the barrel. I never thought he would be, which is why he's in here. But yeah, he's a big threat, and he's a dark horse. You got to watch out for that, because even though he's young, he's got that mentality.
He's hungry.
The one thing that would be interesting for me to see is what happens if he falls behind. Because I know from doing the SBPL with him that in our week 1 game there, when we did start falling behind a little bit, he'd kind of given up. So I'd be interested to see if that happens, and where that happens, because I can definitely see a couple of teams he might struggle against. But yeah, coming in at number 7, we talked about it briefly, is Trancel. Trancel's only here because he was actually number 7 in the post-draft rankings, and I couldn't be bothered to turn it round, so I left him here. In fairness, probably deserved anyway. I think, compared to Tyler, I think Trancel played a lot better, especially in the earlier game. Obviously in the late game, did kind of suffer a little bit, got pegged back to a +1 win. But we expect this from Trancel. Trancel is a very strong player. Like, there's never a never say die moment with Trancel. Even he was concerned about his own draft. I was concerned about it as well. But I do think he picked up a solid win. This was a good start for him. DJ's always a scary opponent. He's a very strong weather user, so having to play against weather early, kind of a problem. But Trancel did make decent amount of use of his team. No, not the greatest Aegis use. No Cinderace, which was kind of interesting. No S-tier pick according to Brofessor, but yeah. It's definitely interesting to see what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing his next few matches. I don't know who he plays next. I'm just gonna look. Let's see, who does he play?
Who, Trancel?
He plays you, actually.
Yeah, like I said, my free win.
So yeah, that'll be funny actually if that happens. I'll have to talk to Trancel about Pick'ems when he eventually gets here. But yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. It's definitely a spicy match for week 2. Definitely a lot of hype surrounding that. But
just want to point out one thing. All right, I may have lost to Trancel in the quarterfinals in GPL season 1. However, in group stages, I'm undefeated against Trancel 2-0. So I'm gonna make that 3-0.
Please do. Nerf Trancel. Let's go. Alright. Alright then, coming in at number 6 is going to be probably the surprising one to see up here, but probably deserved, honestly. Is cool. Nice to see him shooting up this high up. Will he stay there though? I'm not convinced. I do hope that he does make some adjustments to that team, because the team right now is not going to get much further than this. So I'm looking to see where he takes it. His actual mechanics are not that bad. Like, he does tend to set up quite aggressively. Obviously, he fell foul of a little bit of Raw Arcanine. Raw Arcanine definitely annoyed him a little bit, that's for sure. But he came back with a good battle strategy. Definitely had a decent amount of help. And it definitely showed. Like, it definitely showed. Because the practice matches he did against me the first time rounds, like, he had no answer. Like, there was literally no answer for him. I was just beating him for fun, pretty much. So the fact that he's come back, he's put the time in. He's definitely put a lot of time in, you can tell. But he's got to put more time in if he's going to make a team like this work. So I do want to see him make some adjustments. Both of his cores are missing, so that's something that I'd like to see him fix. He knows about chorus. He's very strong as an individual player, so I want to see more from him. I want to see some adjustment. I do want to see where he goes. I'm a little concerned that this is like a shock win that's probably his only one. I hope that's not the case, but I'm a little worried in the division that he's in. It might well end up being that way.
Well, Cool is another case example of someone new coming into the league and picking up that first win. Though I spoke to him, like we were actually in call when we did our battle, and we bantered and we chat back and forth and so on and so forth. But after the game, he explained to me like how much he prepped and how much he was worried and how much time he put into it. Cool, my buddy, my friend. I'm not gonna say don't prep as hard as you did for every game. Just be careful you don't burn yourself out, because if you put too much time, if you worry too much, you will burn out. But all in all, you deserve that win, and I'm happy that I could be the person to lose to the Gigantamax Pikachu. if you don't win this league, I'm going to be upset with you.
The funny thing is, he originally planned to trade it out for G-Max Colossal, but he ended up cancelling the trade, so that was definitely kind of funny. I would have loved to have seen him pick up a win with it and then drop it.
I can't even be mad if to losing to a Gigantamax Pikachu. If I'm gonna lose, I want to lose in style, and I did.
Want to lose to the Chonkachu. Yeah.
Exactly.
Alright. Coming in at number 5 then is going to be Burrger, of course. Burrger, actually, I really like Burrger as a player. I've played against him in the ADL. He's never beaten me. He keeps trying, bless him. But he's definitely a strong mechanical player, and he really showed. Obviously, a bit of RNG went in his favour, which does help, but he still had to play well. He still had to play around the threats that Cap Gynagoshi did throw at him, and he played around them extremely well. He played his Haxorus exactly like we expect to see from Haxorus. We saw it a lot from Solo last season, who demonstrated amazing use of Haxorus. Burger definitely fit that bill. I really like the Boltund. Boltund is a mon I've had a bit of usage for. I used it in a couple of private leagues. It's actually very interesting. It's a fast Pokemon with strong jaw, which is kind of scary. But yeah, it definitely does a lot of work. Still, fun fact, it doesn't get Ice Fang. I wonder why. That's the only Fang move it doesn't get. But yeah, nonetheless, I think he piloted this team extremely well. I don't see a way that he could have won by a higher margin. But I definitely I'm very grateful to see he surprised me in Pick'ems. I thought Cap Guy might have had a few too many answers, but Burger actually countered me completely and came up with more answers than I thought were possible.
I know Burger from like another server. I think it was like a draft league, or
he's in the ADL. That's where he mostly plays, but he's also played in Exos League as well.
I've never actually had the honor of fighting him. I don't know much about his playstyle. I know of him. I've spoken to him. Like, don't get me wrong. I know the guy, but I just don't know him in Pokemon. I'm not exactly 100% convinced after the first game, but he did show signs of like a really good and strong player. So I want to see more games before I have a really solidified opinion on him. But he got his win, and he did look quite comfortable in the end. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some more games from this guy.
Yeah.
No offense, by the way. I don't know you very well just yet.
He actually plays Nico next, which is a very interesting match. Next up is gonna be Shadow. Is there ever a surprise to see Shadow this high up in a power ranking list? Probably not, so let's be real here. Shadow, of course, taking advantage of his very good match record against Sylvie. It definitely showed. Shadow, just a monster. I hate playing this guy. He always beats me. I don't like it. But yeah, like, no. All jokes aside, of course, like, Shadow piloted this team extremely strong. There was no realistic way that Sylvie had any chance of coming back. Like, looking at this, I definitely thought the Grimmsnarl was a disgusting bring. That thing was insane, how much power that thing put out. Like the Incineroar bring, like the Dusclops bring, I think this team was very well thought up.
The Memento play on Dusclops, can I just say? Beautiful. I love that Memento play.
Yeah.
he was good. He was as good as dead at that point anyway, so just doing it himself. Like, it also cut the Sylveon off from getting any sort of like +1 differential, so that was also really smart on his part.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought this was just it's so quintessential Shadow in so many ways. It's just so well thought out, just so
very controlled.
Just literal. It's almost like you're playing with your food before you're eating it, right? It's like you're completely toying with Sylvie, and then you just put the hammer down with the Grimmsnarl, and that was it. Game over. Alright, coming in at number 3 is actually going to be Burger's opponent next week. It's going to be Happy Nico. I really like this player. I think, having seen him play now, I was a little bit worried about his draft. I thought it was very top-heavy. I didn't really see where this team was going to gel together. But again, he did have to play Crimpix, who we do know is not particularly successful so far in his time. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Nico really, much like Shadow in a lot of ways, really put the hammer down when it mattered. Took advantage of his opponent's mistakes, and he played it exactly as he should have done. There was no real sloppiness in his play. It definitely felt very controlled. It didn't really feel like he was pressured.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know what the heck was going on with the Bronzong, honestly. But, I mean, as soon as that died, Gengar came out, and then he just swept. So, I don't really think it was that much of a loss, really. But, still wanting to know what the heck that Bronzong was going to do, you know?
Yeah, I'm really curious as well.
It definitely wasn't heat-proof.
Oh, no, a million percent wasn't heat-proof. Or if that was heat-proof, then what the heck happened? Like,
I was very, very confused about that play. But I guess there's nothing that really wants to switch into a Flare Blitz from a Dominator. Maybe Charizard. Even Charizard's going to get chunked 40%, I'd say.
Yeah, Charizard doesn't want it.
I mean, one bad play against like a sweep of 5-0 to a Gengar. I mean, it's not the worst, really, is it?
No, exactly. Like, I think he probably intended for it to be a sack, which would make sense. It definitely gave him the momentum he needed, but it was one of those where it's just such an odd situation. But these, well, I mean, he'll face tougher opponents. Like, he'll face very, very strong opponents. So that's where it'll be interesting. Next week he plays Burrger, which 2 people have come into the league very last minute. Actually put in a lot of work. So I'll be interested to see how they match up against each other, and who kind of bursts on the scene as the newcomer, because they're also in mine and Exos division, so that's kind of an interesting dynamic where that ends up. But yeah, I definitely think there's a lot to come from him. Even like one minor error, or what could be seen as an error, definitely didn't hurt him at all, so we'll see what happens against the tougher opponents. I'm looking forward to seeing when he plays solo. In fact, I actually kind of want to see that now. Let's see. When does he play solo? He plays me week 3. He plays solo week 4. So
some hard weeks.
That's gonna be interesting. That's for sure. But yeah, we'll see. But I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. He proved me wrong. His draft is better than it looked on paper. So good to know. All right, coming in at number 2 is going to be Brofessor, of course. Really hard punish Nitro. Very, very good prep. Really, really good prep. That Sneasel was fantastic. It's almost a shame that he dropped it now, because it's like, while I thought the Sneasel pick myself was semi a mistake, I could see why he might have drafted it, but it didn't make too much sense. In the first matchup, it made a lot of sense. The Turtonator put in a lot of work. The Stone Edge Mist was very unfortunate, of course. But it didn't really put the dampener on. Professor still punished that aggression. The aggression definitely worked in his favor. Nitro didn't really fight back in the way that he would have wanted. There wasn't really much comeback for him in that match. There was no real setup. The Raichu couldn't kill the Sneasel because the sash was broken. Various things like that. So it was a very, very good demonstration of what Professor's team at its best can do. I did say there's a lot about balanced drafts. My opinion is there's no room for error. If you make one mistake, then it really punishes you hard. It didn't in this case. Professor's team, very strong. Piloted extremely well.
So the irony in all of this is I probably helped Professor prep more for his match than I did for my match. So,
moral of the story: focus on yourself.
I mean, Professor approached me on the weekend where I'd already done my match and I had my internet back, so we kind of theory crafted a few things here and there. And I mean, most of the steam that was pretty much his thoughts. I mean, I'm not going to take any credit away. I mean, I'll take the credit for the block.
That was a very spicy little move. I liked that a lot.
But all in all, Professor, he knows the mons he likes, and he knows how to pilot them. Despite no matter how much he worries and how much he thinks he's a bad battler and he's not gonna get any wins and he's not very good, and then he comes out and he 5-0s someone with a Sneasel and Nate, I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason I put him so high despite putting a balanced draft, is I know his mechanics, I remember him from P1, so, like, I'm very familiar with his actual battle sense. Yes, he may not have played that much Draft League. Draft League is a different animal, it's a limited format, very different. But at the same time, if you've got the mechanics, then you will make that transition, and Brofessor's doing a fantastic job of showing that.
I'm not looking forward to fighting him, honestly.
I'm glad he's in the other conference, I'm not gonna lie, because he will be a nightmare for me. I can feel it. Alright, but that means coming in at number 1, I don't think it comes as any surprise to see it, is Solo. Solo really just, I feel almost like he just ruined somebody's whole existence with this game. Poor Exo, man. The Dracovish play around was very strong. Nice to see the Tailwind on the Corviknight. Of course, I took away the Whimsicott for the Prankster Tailwind, but he still managed to get it up. The Dracovish still put in work. The Glaceon was kind of a surprising bring, but the Freeze Drive for Mantine existed well. The Baton Pass definitely made a lot of sense as well. Just essentially support pivoting. Caused Exo a nightmare of a few problems. Obviously, the Pangoro was brutal. I've used Pangoro as well in lower tier leagues. It's disgusting how strong that thing is. The value in that thing is insane. But yeah, he played around his pieces extremely well. I think there's not really any real kind of bone to pick with this game. I think it was just a clinical display of what this team is capable of and how scary it is going to be for anyone to have to play against it.
Honestly, I expect no less from the runner-up of Season 1, and I think this time he's out for blood, because I don't think he liked coming second place. And dude... I know. Is he in my league? If
no, he's in
my
mine.
division,
He's in
yeah,
mine.
good. Keep him up there. I don't want him up
Yeah.
down there. He's scary.
Wait, we should do a swap deal. You can have Solo and I'll have Professor. Yeah.
No,
like.
no. Let's talk about this a bit more.
Okay? But no, like in all seriousness, this is a brutal display of skill. I didn't think this would be the number 1 draft. I was a little concerned about a few little chinks in the armor, but it doesn't seem to matter with Solo. Like, he could have as many weaknesses in the world, and he's still going to find a way to kick your backside. I'm dreading my match against him. That's definitely for sure. But yeah, I don't think I play him till week 6, so I've got a good time to go before I have to deal with this. But yeah, it's a monster of a team and a monster of a player. It's very much like Trancel was last season. Probably the strongest individual draft, piloted by one of the strongest individual players. So it's power. There's a lot to come. So I'm looking forward to seeing his next match now. I feel sorry for whoever has to play him next, because this is a pretty strong display of dominance.
Yeah, no. I would even go as far as to say that we might have another Trancel situation on our hands, but only time will tell. It's been week 1.
So next season, for season 3, we're banning Zeraora and we're banning Dracovish.
No, next season we're just not gonna let Trancel and Solo.
Just kidding, we love you guys.
You guys we'll make your own draft league where you just fight each other every week.
I would love to see that, actually, though, where they draft 8 different teams from the same tier and they fight each other with different teams every week. That would be kind of fire. I'd love to see that.
This league.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's going to be it, of course. That is our power rankings. Pick'ems will be coming soon. I am trying to get hold of Trancel whenever he's around. Hopefully soon. But yeah, they'll be coming soon. And either way, we're going to get on out of here. So thanks to Dinistrio, of course, for joining me. It's nice to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I look forward to doing the other weeks as well. Thank you, Ribombee.
No worries. Alright, thank you so much for watching, guys. My name is Ribombee Teacher. That's Dinistrio. And take care, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.